think when one thinks about the Trump presidency, one has to look at it as almost a tale of two cities. You have to think of domestic Trump, and you have to think of international or foreign policy Trump. Domestic Trump, the stock market has continued to be robust. His laissez-faire attitude with respect to regulation has been seen as a very positive indicator, and the markets have responded well to that. The commercial sector, the corporate sector has responded well to that. On the other hand, he inherited something that really began with the Obama presidencies, which is a really global shift in the hegemony of America as the sort of center of the world order. That is shifting and is now, with President Xi's speech in Davos last year, which you recall, has really shifted to China, potentially as being a greater source of stability in the world. So you're dealing with a very different set of foreign policy issues, including the geopolitics of the world that Trump has been dealt with. Domestically, I think he does much better on his report card. In terms of foreign policy, I think the jury's still out because he's inherited a much more complicated deck of cards.
Lord Malloch Brown, I mean, one of the features of the last year has been the failure to deliver at a policy level. And as we run into the end of the year, we're very much focused on what happens with the tax reform plan. Do you feel that Trump will be in any better position to secure legislation next year or in 2018 compared to this year?
Well, look, I think, you know, the tax reform is a potential great win for him, even if there are plenty of economists who you know, doubt its long-term effectiveness given the widening deficit. But there's no doubt it's a good high for him to finish the year. But the clouds are nevertheless gathering beyond that. You know, the continued sort of disruptive, rather unpredictable foreign policy, most recently the promise to move the American embassy to Jerusalem, all these kinds of activities leave the world in a sense of great uncertainty. And frankly, back in America, where the sort of obsession with Trump that sort of dominates the media, from the morning TV shows through to the most established press, whether it's the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, this consuming interest of what's he going to do next, undoubtedly is going to leave a sort of air of instability and unpredictability about politics and therefore markets.
Yeah, and just following on from that as well, 1 year, John, of Mr. Trump, has it created a better world, a more stable world, a fairer world? Because the question remains for many people, has Mr. Trump actually exacerbated a lot of situations that were quite tense anyway in the Middle East, in relations with China, in relations with Europe as well? I think a lot of questions remain about his style and his substance, and actually whether he's created a more divisive world.
I think, Steve, you're making a very important point. President Trump has a style that on a good day you would say is nimble, on a bad day you would say is unpredictable. And there's one thing that world leaders do not like, particularly in the world where we have right now with a lot of strong dictators around the world. They do not like the unpredictability of Washington and of a Trump administration. So that's making people uncomfortable. Having said that, it may well be a very effective tool in dealing with certain types of characters, like the gentleman in North Korea. So I agree with your point. It's caused a lot of angst internationally. I think to a certain extent, though, by keeping his cards close to his chest, or being very unpredictable and being very, very hard to read, he's put certain leaders, such as North Korea, very much on their toes.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.